We are recording now, and I'd like to start by recognizing that the Clay Studio stands on the indigenous territory known as Lenape-Hocking, the traditional homelands of the Lenni Lenape people. We would like to take a moment to reflect on the role of the Lenape as the past, present, and future stewards of the land, and the role of all of us to join in their tradition and respect and caring for the land and each other. Ann Van Hoey was born and raised in Belgium and began her professional life as a commercial engineer. She always had a talent for mathematics and sciences, which she combined with a love for sports. She had a successful career in the furniture industry before following her long-term desire to make things from the ground up with her own hands, and made the decision to study at the IKA Art and Craft Academy in Mechelen. Perhaps I am saying that wrong.
Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, Mechelen, yes.
Okay, thank you. Where she discovered her interest in and talent for ceramics. After graduating, she was invited to participate in the Taiwan Ceramics Biennial, the Chongju Craft Biennial, the Henry van de Velde Awards, the International Biennial of Ceramics, and the Lowe Craft Prize. Her love for geometry and her trips to different parts of the world, including Japan, where she discovered the art of origami, gave her a style of her own. Her work has been in museums and galleries all around the world, among which Gallery Hélène Poiret in Paris, Pulse Contemporary Ceramics in Brussels, Gallery Dudon in La Belle, France, the Yinga Ceramics Museum in Taiwan, and the Museum of Arts and Design in New York. I know her work is at the Lucie Lacoste Gallery, and right now there's a piece in our gallery, which we're very excited about. Thank you. And then Susan Beiner, born in Newark, New Jersey, earned her MFA from the University of Michigan and her BFA from Rutgers University. As an undergraduate student, Susan studied paintings and ceramics, which influenced how she utilizes color on her ceramic forms. Susan is a ceramic artist and professor in the Herberger Institute for Design and the Arts at Arizona State University. Her sculptural installations expose concern about the effects on the fragile ecosystem of humans, animals, and plants. Her objective is to create an ecological balance between the conflict that has arisen between nature and culture. Beiner has exhibited nationally and internationally, has received numerous awards and residencies, and her work is included in diverse and prestigious collections such as the Yixing Ceramics Museum in China, Los Angeles County Museum, Gyeonggi Museum of Contemporary Art, Ceramic Art in Korea, the Princess Hof Ceramic Museum in the Netherlands, Long Beach Museum of Art in California, to name a few. She was named the Joan R. Lincoln Endowed Professor in Ceramics in 2017. This professorship was created by the Lincoln family in honor of Joan Lincoln's lifelong passion for making, collecting, and supporting ceramic art. So thanks to you both for being here. Susan, you're a resident artist, and Anne was a guest artist. And so we'll talk a little bit later about your times at the Clay Studio, but we're going to start with a question. Does anyone, we didn't discuss this. Is there a volunteer to go first?
Oh, I can go first. I don't care.
Okay, so Susan, how and why did you make the brave decision to make your life in art?
Well, I'm not sure that the sort of decision was completely conscious. I think that I come from sort of a very, I would say, creative family. My father was a chemical engineer who was really interested in other things besides that, obviously. But he was a figure skater. He played the silver flute. We had music in the house. We studied opera, ballet, all that kind of stuff. So we had all of that growing up. And I think one of the things that he had told me when I was very young was that there's so many things to do in the world, right? And whatever you wanted to do, you could be successful if you were just passionate about it. And the drive and the determination I had for just making objects, I think, and making artwork just kind of carried me through. And so starting as a painter, I never thought that I would end up in ceramics. I just thought, at that time, painting in the fine arts was kind of the most popular for being in school and studying that. So that's what I studied. I was very interested in painting. And then just like many other people, I took a ceramics class and, I was hooked. And I think one of the things about ceramics that was extremely interesting to me was and I think this today, is that it's kind of like a lifelong journey of learning, because there are and I'm teaching too, so that probably has to do with it, but there are so many technical things and processes, and it's the field itself now is so expansive that it allows you to open up your brain to accept so many different kinds of way of thinking, of surfaces. And so I'm really interested in glazing. I always have been. And so people say I've used glaze, like a painter, because that's kind of where I come from. But and I think just from that, falling into the ceramic thing, I just kept going, and I became really passionate about it. And that's what kind of led the way to me, I guess, being where I am today. So, and still making work. So it's great.
That's great. And you brought it right back to the passion.
Yes, always.
Yeah.
I really believe in that, even to this day. Like, if you're really passionate about anything, you can be successful, because it creates determination and motivation that you don't need from someone else, like outside of your circle. It's contained within yourself. So, and you find different ways of doing things, whether, in today's world, things I think are a little bit more entrepreneurial. So it allows you to kind of merge and find your way through that material.
Yeah, that's great. And I love that idea that I don't know if I've ever quite thought of it that way, but it makes perfect sense that your passion is what leads to self-motivation, because you're doing it to please yourself, not someone else.
Right? Yeah.
And that helps you wake up every day and decide to keep being an artist. And it's not always easy, right?
It does. It gets really exciting, and it's definitely not easy. I think this field is extremely difficult. But there's something just exciting about going to the next, to me anyway, going to the next thing. And I work sort of by projects or series. And so, I do some research, and I have to learn about that to move on to the next thing. And all of that to me is building, like you're creating a vocabulary for yourself, and learning new technique, developing a new glaze, or, but all of the projects and so forth are based on the same ideas, really. So it just allows you to kind of be excited about the next thing and look forward to it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's partially, like you said, it's the same. They're all motivated by the same ideas, because it's not just the making that's you're passionate about. It's the underlying ideas that you're communicating, right? It's communicating your thoughts on these things. And so is the research, when you say research, is that about, thinking through the concepts that you're working on, or is it focused on the technical?
It's both, but technical I've done, I kind of have that vocabulary, a lot of it. There's always something new, but most of it I have. But it's the research of content, place. Sometimes it's an experience that I've had to kind of go into a little bit deeper to kind of figure out exactly what I'm talking about. And then certainly there's mistakes along the way. I think we all have had mistakes in ceramics. So, that's another thing you have to kind of work with, is what happens when something fails. How do you get up and, start over, even though you've put hours and hours into this to kind of get to the next step? And you do, because that's kind of what we do, I guess.
Yeah. And it's passion and failure. Those are right.
You learn a lot from failure. Failure is a must.
Absolutely.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. You can't, if you are good at everything, you're never really going to dig deep and figure it out.
Yeah, agreed.
That's great. Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
Anne, so I'm going to ask you the same question. How and why did you make the brave decision to make your life an art?
Well, I made it very late, and it was like Susan, it was not that I decided now I'm going to be an artist, but I come from a family where there was no creativity at all. I think we hardly ever went to one museum when I was a child, and I studied economics, and I was good at math and sciences, and I was good in sport. But I had already, when I was 25 years old, I was going through a difficult period, and I started to attend night school after my work, and I chose ceramics. And that was from the first time that I touched the clay, I was really drawn to it. I liked it very much. And I went to the night school a few years, but life was becoming too busy and I had to quit. And then at the age of 45, I went again to the night school. And there, when I was 50, I got my diploma and from ceramics. And at that time, I was not at all happy with my professional life. And I thought, okay, it's now or never. So let's try to make my living with ceramics. But I saw myself more as somebody who was going to make tableware, and I was throwing at that time. But I didn't make a very good plan, and so I took myself a studio and with the wheel and the kiln and everything, and I went to my studio every day, and I had underestimated a lot of being alone in the studio all the time. And also because of my economical background, I started to count how much costs a clay and how long do you work and what is the cost of a firing and that kind of things. And that is so unpleasant and contra-creative that after a few months, or I don't know exactly how long, yeah, I didn't go to the studio with pleasure anymore, and I stayed home in the morning, and my husband saw it happening, and then he gave me a very wise advice. He said, Anne, now you go back to that studio, you have fun making your pieces like before, you don't count, and you aim as high as possible. He said, you're much too old to try a little exhibition in our town, and then perhaps the next year in the town next to it. At 50, you have to aim as high as possible. If it don't work, you can always come down, but the other way around, forget about it. So that was not really in my character to work that way, but okay, I didn't see another solution, and I thought, okay, to aim as high as possible, perhaps I can do it by applying for big international biennales, and that's what I did. So I made for the European Biennale in Valoris, and that was the first one, and one in Croatia, I think, and then for the World Biennial in Korea, and I was staking everywhere, and I got prizes, and the galleries came, and so my work was picked up by a gallery, and I was an artist. So that's a little bit how it started. Yeah.
It's great. I love that it's different. It's a different story than you often hear. And it has the passion, right? You can't decide to do something when you're 45 if you're not very passionate about it. So that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that when I was 25, I already thought, oh, perhaps I want to do this for my job. And okay, I've studied at university, but I don't like it, so I want to make it my job. But I didn't pursue because I really didn't believe in it myself. And it was after I was 50, and when I had made these while I was making the applications, I started to believe in it myself, and that was the big change. From then on, it started working. Yeah.
That is great. Great advice. Okay, so we have believe, don't be afraid to fail, and passion from the two of you. All very good advice. Thank you. Okay, so I will go back to Susan and ask to talk a little bit about your experience at the Clay Studio.
So I was there just for 1 year as a long-term resident, 2005 to 6, I think. Yeah, I think it's 5 to 6. So I was teaching in California, which was my very first full-time job, and I quit. I just had a hard time. I had a bit of difficulty. I didn't know, I think things change in your life and you're not sure what you want. Anyway, had some difficulty, and I sort of I needed a little bit of a space, right? Space to kind of think. And so I got accepted to the Clay Studio, came to the Clay Studio, which is closer to my family because, it's on the East Coast. And so I started to work at the Clay Studio. I got an apartment in the Italian district, which was actually, Jeff Guido was the director at the time, and he helped me a lot, and that was just amazing. But it was, of course, in the old building, which to me was still fantastic. It was a great experience. It was the first time I was working with a lot of people on it, as a year during the year, not just like a summer experience. I met a lot of people and was working with them, was be able to have conversations with them. And it became kind of a different sort of lifestyle, I would say, than academia, very different. You had to survive in a different way, right? So like Anne is doing, I couldn't do that. To live off your work, essentially, I had no other support. And so it was pretty difficult just to do that. I don't know, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed teaching at the Clay Studio, having the classes below, and you met all those people. The openings were wonderful. Tons of people came, and it was just an incredible community of artists, community people, I don't know, a great experience. And I would have stayed longer had I didn't get a job. I didn't know I was going to teach. I got a part-time job at Rowan College or Rowan University, the nearby school. But the Clay Studio, I would say, was extremely supportive of everything that all of the resident artists did, which I thought was made for an extremely positive experience. Because if you needed something, or if you couldn't afford something, or you needed help with something, the people at the Clay Studio were able to sort of come in and give you something, or have something open that you could apply for, or big grants, anything that would help you out. And it really did help you survive and help your work develop. And mine certainly did, even in a year's time, because you were able to focus on your work only, with a few teaching gigs to kind of help you keep going. And then just be connected to the community. And it's a huge art community in Philadelphia. And they support artists, and they support the arts community. So it was a very sort of, I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I thought I'd stayed there for a really long time, to be totally honest. But then I guess it was the following year, I got a call from ASU about they need someone to do glaze chemistry. And so, I applied and I got it. So that's the reason why I left. But otherwise, I would have stayed. I loved it. I've never experienced such a strong ceramic community in people in a place, and that where everybody is really positive about it and they love clay. And I just love, I ooze it, I just love ceramics. I love everything about it. I love the people, the technical, everything. And I think meeting people and talking to people, and just being able to bounce off experiences with others is a gift, that our field carries with it. And I enjoy it. So it was pivotal for me being at the Clay Studio. I don't think my life would have been what it is now had I not had the Clay Studio. it was a strong jumping point for me to be able to kind of, in a sense, like get back on track, go back to what I think I should have been doing. And so it allowed me to do that. So, and the people did too, because the people helped quite a bit. So I loved it there.
Oh, that's so
I
nice.
really did. Yeah, it was great.
That's great. I love hearing that. It's so exciting, and I certainly, I wasn't there when you were here, but
yeah.
I feel the same, like the fact that everyone's passionate about the same thing and we're all excited about it. And you don't even have to, it's just in the air, that everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And out in the rest of the world, people, like you were saying, when you were in school, people were still like thinking painting was the thing. Well, that's still kind of the case in a lot of places. So it's nice that we have our supportive little ceramics community, big ceramics community.
Yeah.
And
it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it makes my heart happy to hear all that.
And the other thing is that I don't know if you still have this, but that you can stay longer. I think it's up to 5 years or 3 years or something that you can stay in the residency.
Yeah, it used to be 5, now it's 3. Yeah.
3. So, but I think that was helpful because, you apply to things year to year and sometimes you don't get something. So the Clay Studio enables you to stay if you need to. And that is also, a gift thing, to ceramic people, whether they know it or not, it is.
Yeah, because when you have to start thinking about what's next, the minute you get to a place, your brain is always distracted. And we're very proud to say that as of 2 years ago, we now have a stipend and free studio space. So the residents don't have to pay any rent or anything.
Oh, wow.
So that's really important. And it's 3 years, but we found that most people stayed. That was like the average that people stayed for anyway. So that's why we just changed that. So now we can support even more artists.
Yeah, it's good. It just allows you to develop your work too, substantially, I think, which is why people need residency programs. They can focus on their work, which was great. So, and mine certainly did. So you'll see it in the slides, but
yeah, right. I was just going to say we're going to do the slides next, but thank you. Thanks, Susan. How about you, Anne? So you were here for 2 months, not the same as being here for a year, but tell us a little bit about.
No, that was artist in residence, and it was for 2 months. It was from before everybody could be invited for 2 months. And for me, it was my first residency. First, I'd like to say something what Susan said. I can't do like Anne. So I'm living from selling my work, but also quite early when I started my career as a ceramist, I was approached by a Belgian by Cerex. It's a Belgian brand. And I design tableware for them. And I still do it. And they sell tableware. Now that they have grown enormously. They sell all over the world now, also in the United States. And I get royalties, and that helps me a lot. So I don't teach, but I design tableware, and it's on a freelance basis. So when I have an idea, I can go there and see if they're interested. And so the Clay Studio was my first residency. For me, I was discovering a whole new world. I didn't know that all those things existed. And I think 2 years before, I was there in 2014. And in 2000, a year before, I was accepted as a member of the International Academy of Ceramics. And the conference was in the United States. And there was a pre-tour, New York and Philadelphia, which I did. And so we went to visit the Clay Studio, and I was there, and I was thinking, oh, that's something new that I could also try. And so I made contact, and I got accepted for 2 months, May and June in 2014. And it was really amazing already. I was already at that time, I don't know, 55 or 56 years old. And it was it reminded me a little bit like being at university again, living across the street. I was the last one to live in the old building, in the apartment right across the street in that part of the town. And so for me, who didn't travel much before my ceramic career, because now I'm traveling all the time, but it was really an enormous experience to be able to live 2 months in a city in the United States, apart from the ceramic thing then, because the clay studio by itself also was very good, because we had all the facilities there, the help, it was really, really very, very special. And after Philadelphia, I decided, I should continue to try to get residencies in other places, because it's really a fantastic way to learn to know other people from other countries who are also passionate about ceramics, and to make contacts. And that's what I did. I went to Taiwan and Australia and Hungary and Bali, and this year I'm going to China at the end of the year for 2 months too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So we were your first residency. That's very special.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I was quite nervous about it, because I didn't know exactly what people expect from a resident, but it was really very relaxed, but very interesting. The year that I was there, it was Gard Johnson who was responsible for the art, the resident artist.
Yep. Right before I came. And you said Theo was the studio tech, I think.
Sorry.
I think you told me that Theo was the studio tech when you were here.
Okay. Yeah.
That's good. Great. Well, we're so glad that that you had a good experience, and that you're both part of the Play Studio family. Now we're gonna finally get to the pictures. I know everybody's been waiting for images of your work, so let's do that next. I will share my screen. And I guess we'll just go back to the same order. So let's start with Susan. Oops. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it this way if that's okay. It sort of turns out a little better on the Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk us?
Yeah, talk through some of them.
Yeah.
So this is 2005. I finished this at the Clay Studio. I was an avid teapot maker, pretty much after like graduate school up to a few years after that. I guess this is one of the last ones that I did at the Clay Studio. I think at that time it was a very different time in terms of what was, what the craft option, the connection to craft was. So I don't know, this is how I started getting into clay, was making teapots. It was very familiar in terms of the form, and I was a slip caster. And so I had started making these very dense surfaces, and just like my work is today, but connecting parts and casting found objects, and trying to come up with new glazes. And obviously I was very interested in the glaze, but they were all based on it that I was interested in, like the 18th century ceramic manufacturers from Europe. So I was looking at a lot of that kind of work, and that was kind of my introduction in a way to ceramics. So can we go to the next one, just so I can, because then this is kind of where I am today. This is a floor piece, which is 12 foot it's about 12 foot by 13 or something. It's close to 200 pieces. This is the jump, essentially, which took obviously a few years to do. This is called bounded fragility, and it has to do with the fragility of our planet, with the idea of, a rug, or coming from the historical aspect of, what a rug is. And the fact that you would walk on a rug, and here, obviously, it's ceramic, you wouldn't walk on it. But it has some of those principles. So it's kind of like a floor covering, and the surface of all of the layers are made so that it's like flora and fauna, which is a common motif in rugs from historical cultures. So I had done some research on rugs and the pictorial aspect of rugs. So the center part of this, the gold part, is an artichoke, which is symbolic of prosperity and future. And it is a food, flower, and medicinal plant. And the inside of it, as everybody knows, is edible, the heart part. So it's one of the oldest known foods, dating back to like ancient times in the Mediterranean. And the patterning of the flower or the floral aspect of the artichoke is the center parts. So there's a 3D section. I don't have a detail of this on here, but there's a 3D form that is printed and cast. So that is kind of the connection to technology, where the gold luster is connected to the color of the surface of this piece, which is very, very like this very bright yellow. And so it's supposed to be like reaching in an upward trajectory. So it's representing technology and future and the sun, the intensity of the sun. And they're built on, and there's 4 birds. You'll see 4 birds in the center. They flank the center. And those are representing sort of protecting that future, which is the center, the artichoke. And the pieces on the side represent stitching. Those curved pieces, those represent stitching. And they are all cast pieces. They're cast kind of like blocks, almost like you would see a tile piece. And they all fit together. They're all placed and fit together. They're definitely numbered. And there are about 85 stems that you can kind of see. They kind of pop out of the floor. Yeah, those things. And all of those stems actually go into the artichoke and kind of feel like extending upward. So, and they, for installing and deinstalling, they come out. So everything that I do comes apart and then gets installed, because it's much easier to ship, much easier to handle, move, etc. So the just one other thing is that the blocks that are like towards the stitching are flatter, and then as it kind of goes to the center, it sort of gets more dense, more raised up until it gets to the center point. So this was 2021. The museum in Korea actually owns this now because it won a prize at a Biennale. But it is this is the piece I did over COVID. So, I was home. So it was like about 1.5 years to do this piece. So most of the work takes a really long time. I can't do anything really fast. But anyway, so that's that piece. You can go to the next one.
I had the impression that you were working rather fast, Susan. We met in Ireland in 2016, and you were demonstrating, and I had the impression that it didn't go so slow. It was really impressive to see you work.
I don't know. Maybe it's not. I mean, for me, it feels slow. Like when you tell people a year, that's slow to most people. I think, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe
it's really big. It's not like you made one pot in a year. Like,
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe I do work fast. Casting, I mean, I think casting allows me to go kind of fast. And now I'm so used to it. I know how to organize and get ready and just sort of plan out time and work so that it's, ready to go. Like what I'm casting, I'm applying and attaching and, I don't know, maybe it's fast, but anyway. So this is Contained Chrysanthemum. This is a series from a series that I did in 2019. And it has to do with the geometry of flowers and of blooms. And so these are like 9 sections that fit together into one piece. And the center is a chrysanthemum. And then, it's kind of speaks for itself, but you can kind of see the separation of parts, the 4 corners, and then the 4 interiors, and then all the sections inside. And it's based on a cleating system. So you set up the cleats on the back, and then I have a map to kind of install everything. It's not very hard. It's pretty easy. So I did a series of those because it takes, and Anne probably could agree with this. It takes, you can't do just one of something. I have to do multiple to kind of really get an understanding of things. So I do more than one most of the time.
It's amazing. Well, I love that that they have maps and cleats and everything as the curator.
Oh yeah.
I love a good hanging.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm very good with preparing everything. I make Mylar templates, full instructions, like everything. And I'll fly out if somebody needs me to fly out. I'll do that too. I don't care. But so this is a piece that's called The Nature of Cancer Cells, and it was done in 2020. I had received a grant from ASU Biodesign, which is a school at ASU that scientists are studying cancer research. And so I had an opportunity to work for a year with scientists in a lab, which was pretty cool, and develop a piece which is now in one of the buildings. So this piece is kind of about the body and how cancer cells slowly replicate and move their way through and overcome healthy cells. And it's created in a circular format. So that is like the cycle of nature and movement goes in that way, as well as in the body. And so it's on a circle. It's about a 45-inch diameter and comes out from the wall about 15 to 18 inches. So the darker clay body represents the cancerous cells and how they start like invading the other parts. And the palette that I used is, to me anyway, feels like it has the sensibility of internal organs, but some of the forms represent plants and nature, since cancer affects humans, animals, plants, oh my God, everything. Yeah, and it's super dense, has a lot going on in it. And it's also made in sections. So there's a center circle, and then there's kind of like pieces of pie in a way that go on all the sides. And it's permanently installed. So the pieces are permanently on the backing, which is steel, and it's cleated. It's cleated. Each piece is cleated and fits together like a pie when it goes on the wall. So
great.
Also like a year. And then this is the most recent piece, just finished, 2024. It's called The Silence of Landscape, and it's based on, it's based on an idea, but it is sort of, I did some reference on the Guilin Mountains in China, which are absolutely incredible, but a very sort of calming place that in my mind is kind of unspoiled. It is, I was looking for my, it's sort of it's definitely about nature, and it's very much a calming effect that allows you to think about mountain structures, and in a way they're protecting themselves. And so, obviously nature can't speak for itself. So it allows you to think about the resources that we're using and what are the possibilities that we're doing to nature. So they're all sort of encrusted with these little sharp little grass forms, and they're all connected together. So, you know, one piece is one entire form, and they are sort of represented as like topiary. So topiary are man-made, right? Man-made forms, the way we design our landscape. And so these are kind of designed in a way that that they are being protective of their surroundings by the sharp kind of nature of the surface. And they really are sharp because, you know, you touch them and they can puncture your hands, so I'm told. Anyway, so they are in a diamond shape because that turned out to be sort of the formation that allowed me to go evenly, symmetrically from top to bottom and side to side. I didn't want something that was haphazard because I wanted to keep sort of the density and a patterning to the surface and have that. Eventually, I thought maybe, you know, I could paint the background or do something in the background, which would then pull up the white wall, you know, so it gives you a different kind of perception to the surface, but I didn't do that. Anyway, so that's that piece. And that piece right now is in Japan. It got into the Biennale, so that's where it is. So, but most current. And the, you know, the other thing is that I'm thinking about now.
Is it in Mino now, Susan?
Yeah, Mino.
Are you going?
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. So. My tableware there, so perhaps we meet.
Oh, good. I hope so. That'd be wonderful. Actually, that'd be really wonderful. I'm trying to go, so hopefully that will happen. So the other thing that I think is interesting is I think my work is really changing. And, you know, if you can't tell, but before there was lots of little sort of forms that were all connected to create this one thing. And here, these are a repetition of the same form. You know, all the encrustations are the same. And so I feel like, in a sense, that the idea was a calming effect. It's also, for me, sort of this thoughtful time that I'm going through right now with my work. And my own practice. So that literally is where I am right now. And that was what the piece that went to the clay studio was also about, the wall of practice. Just, oh yeah, there you go. So that piece was me thinking about not doing, I was just doing a lot of wall pieces that were really big, took a lot of time. And now I'm thinking about how do I come off the wall and sort of, maybe get smaller, but having the same intensity, and creating sculpture as opposed to just, you know, the wall, it's not three-dimensional. You're using the flat space. And here is three-dimensional. And how do I activate those dimensions in the way that carries the same density and ideas as being on a wall? I don't know, being on a wall is just like, I really enjoy it. I enjoy how I look at it and what it looks like, how the viewer sees it, and how they get sort of entrapped in the space, which is why doing a big piece for me is just feels so natural, because you can really get enveloped in that. And so I'm trying to do that with smaller pieces. I'm not sure I figured it out yet, but I'm trying. And that's what this piece was the start of it. So, yeah.
Well, that's great to hear that the piece that you sent us was sort of a new idea. It's beautiful. Everybody loves it. Both of your works in the shows have already sold. So somebody loves
thanks. Great. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Sure.
And do you want to talk us through some of your slides here now?
Yeah, this is a picture of an actual solo exhibition that I have in an ancient castle in Belgium. And yeah, it was really an impressive building, and I was a little bit shy about it, to think how I'm going to be able to make it enough interesting. But yeah, it's okay. So here you see some pieces, and when I first visited the building, I was overwhelmed with the red bricks, because it's made of red bricks everywhere, the ceiling also, and I decided to work with red clay. You don't. I hope you can see it on the picture. And so the inside of the pieces, it's not glazed; it's the red clay, and the outside is done in the bright colors that I'm always used to work in. Yeah.
Great.
Perhaps the next picture. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, it's going the other way around, I have to say. But okay, I'll talk about it. This is a recent adventure, a recent collaboration I've done with Loewe. And Loewe is a luxury fashion brand from Spain. And they contacted me to ask if I was interested in a collaboration and to try to make my work in leather. And these are the things that really are happening to me, and I still can't believe that all those things are possible. So of course I was interested, and I went a few times to Madrid to their factory there to work, and this is the result. It's really my language, my pieces, but in Napa leather. It's 3 layers of leather. It's Napa leather outside. The leather are leftovers that they make from their handbags. So they have leftovers, and then I work with them to make these pieces, with the help, of course, of a leather maker and all their the knowledge they have to work with the leather. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Napa leather, cow leather inside to make it a little bit more stiff, and then again a very nice colored Napa leather inside. Yeah.
If you want, did you want me to start at a different spot? Did I put them in the wrong order for you?
Okay, that's the piece that's at the clay studio now.
Yeah.
I suppose that, yeah, that's and this is in stoneware with an engobe, and so that's my language that I always wanted a very yeah, the color is very uniform, inside and outside the same color. I don't find the word in English, but
Uniform.
and yeah, okay.
And I think it's important to show the different views, because they looks like 3 different pieces when every time you turn it. You know, every angle is so different. It's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because they're cut in a different way. So I make a vase form for this one to start with, and then I cut triangles out of it, and then I fold them. And that's in fact how I work all the time. You've seen it with the Loewe pieces too, and yeah, perhaps next piece. Yeah, yeah. Here, that's the piece that's on the poster for my actual show in Belgium. And here you can see that the red clay inside, and here I did an extra cut that I didn't fold. It's a new thing. Yeah, it's a new path. My work is evolving, but it's going slow. But I always add little things, and it can't seem perhaps very much, but for me as an artist, these are big steps forward. It takes me a long time before I find it to do it in the right way.
Yeah. When it's so simple, even a small change is a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here, that's also a picture taken in the castle, but it shows my tableware, my latest design for Xerox. So this is a completely different way of working. As I said, I make the design, and I go to Xerox to see if they're interested in my series, and if we come to an agreement, it's they who do the production and the marketing and everything. But I was fortunate in Mino. There is also so the competition in Mino, they have 3 categories: artistic ceramics, then tableware made in small batches in studio, and then industrial made tableware. And so I'm selected with this tableware in Japan, in Mino, and it's made from fine bone china. It's very translucent, all different patterns. I don't know if you can see it on the picture. The picture is big enough, and some of these patterns are 3D design. So it's yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I have a friend who draws them on computer, and then I with rapid prototyping, I make a prototype, and then I can do to make a mold, and then the casting. That's how it works. And so most are the parts, the outside parts are not glazed, only the inside, only with the green glaze, the celadon glaze. They're glazed all over.
It's beautiful. Oops, sorry, hold on.
Yeah. So, and this is one of my early works. This is really how my career started. These bowls, they're part of the collection of the Met Museum in New York, and so they acquired them at the exhibition of the International Academy of Ceramics. That was in the United States. So I started to work with earthenware, and I didn't add anything to the surface. So the pieces, they're even not sanded, so there's no engobe. It's really the color of the clay. And with this kind of pieces, I got selected in many international competitions, with others too, but this was the start. And the reason was, I think, that they liked the pieces, that they liked to look at it, but also they were very, the jury didn't often know how I made the pieces, how I was able to make them, and that was also a strength of my work, I think.
Yeah. A little mystery is good.
And then so as I started now, let's say 15 years ago, and then ceramic wasn't such a hype like it is for the moment. And then when I said to people that I had become a ceramist, they were looking at me and thinking, oh, isn't that a little bit old-fashioned? And I thought, no, you have to look at my pieces. And I showed them the pieces of the earthenware bowls, but I didn't get much attention from the businessmen, for example, with which I was dealing before in my previous careers. So I thought, okay, I have to do something. I have to add something to the piece so that they will remark them, that they will look at it. And I had the idea, okay, all these businessmen are fond of their cars. I'm going to paint my work in Ferrari red, and then they will look at it. And it was easier said than done. I had to look a long time before I find the right guy who wanted to do it for me and who could do it, because this piece is not folded, but I have it on, he does it on folded pieces too. And it's a professional car painter who does the job for me, but I had many success and selections with my Ferrari red pieces. And this piece, it's really a big piece. It's one of the biggest pieces I made. For me, it's a big piece, and it's part of the collection of the Everson Museum in Syracuse, New York. Yeah. And here I made the vase and I made the cuts and I didn't fold it. And I like that shape already for a long time, but it took me long before I dared to consider it as a finished piece, because I was thinking, oh, people are going to say, yeah, it's just a form and she cut 3 triangles out of it and that's it. But nevertheless, at some point, I decided, okay, it's a finished piece. I don't touch it anymore. And I must say that they also very much appreciated.
That's great. I think that
I think that this piece, perhaps, it's why it's very important to come out of your studio to do competitions if you want to make yourself a name and to do residencies. It's Gar Johnson who bought a piece at Lucy Lacoste Gallery, but Gar Johnson, I think that the fact that I was at the clay studio while he was there and that we got along so well, that it certainly helped him to decide to make to buy the piece.
Yeah, personal connections of like knowing the community. Like that's that idea that we're all passionate about clay and then we get to know each other and it's extra special. I don't know, you could have saved it for the Ferrari Museum.
Right.
I don't know if that they are interested. Yeah.
They do have a museum anyway. Well,
Yeah.
that's
So,
great.
and it's car paint on top of porcelain?
No, it's not porcelain, this one. No, it's like I call the series the earthenware Ferrari. So I worked in earthenware first.
Oh.
So I make an earthenware piece, I fire it, and then with the piece I go to the garage and then they spray it for me.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you both. We're 3 minutes over, but I would love to ask if anyone has any questions or so let's give people an opportunity. Anyone who's on Zoom, you're welcome, or anyone in the room.
I see a name there, Heath Ballow. I don't remember exactly, but he was there when I was at the clay studio. I remember the name. No?
Maybe. I mean, he was often at hi.
Oh, he left. No, there.
He put his
Okay,
name.
hi. Yeah, we met. Your mic. Yeah, I don't hear you.
You want to take yourself off mute, Heath? Go ahead.
Okay.
I was there and visited her in the studio and was floored by the way she was making her pieces. I was really lucky to see some of her tricks, so I don't want to spoil it. But no, she had this beautiful yellow Ferrari painted piece that I was just like floored by. But
great.
We have met, and
yeah, now I remember your face, but I saw the name, but I couldn't figure out. But no, yeah, okay.
The fact you pieced that together without my face is incredible. You have a good memory.
Yeah, Keith is wonderful. We're happy to have him as part of our community. Somebody else had a question. Did you have a question? Do you want to come over here so they can hear you? Yeah, just roll on over. We're gonna have it. Here you go.
Hello.
Yeah, you can just talk. They'll hear.
Hi, Anne. And I had a quick question for you. You said that you worked for a design company, and I didn't get the name. In
Serax. It's SERAX.
RRSERIX. Thank you.
SERAX. But if you go on my Instagram and you see a picture of the table, where then you will see at Serax and you can
wonderful.
find
I just was curious because it's a very interesting thing to be able to design something and then and go about the process of seeing it made. If you could explain a little bit that process, do you ever do things without mold, or do you ever work by hand to find a form?
No, but I roll my plates by hand, and then I have for the first form that I make, if it's a a hemisphere or a vase form, I have a mold, and I work
Okay.
with slabs in the mold.
Okay.
But also, if you go on my Instagram, there's a little movie from less than 1 minute, and then you can see all the different steps how I make it.
I'm very interested to see. I'm just discovering you, so very nice to meet you. And yes, I will see your process.
If you don't find it, you just send me a message, and I will send it to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
And then I see Janina is there. Is Janina there?
She
Janina.
hasn't arrived yet. She's coming. She'll be here September 1st.
Okay, but now she's listening or not?
Oh, is she?
Janina.
Oh, she's listening. Oh, you're right. Yep, there she is. Yep. Oh, she
Janina,
just
come
turned.
and
Hi,
say,
Janina.
hey! You're doing so good in the United States. You're going to live there or what?
Yeah, we're excited that she's coming. That's great.
She's coming. Wow.
Hi.
Lucky girl. Good.
Okay. Susan and Anne, do you have any final comments or thoughts?
No, not really.
Great.
Unless there's a question.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so
Heath.
much. We really appreciate your time. Oh, Heath,
Okay.
did you have a question?
I wanted to thank you for explaining the struggles of being an artist in the beginning before you got to a level of success, and how even the failures and the things that held you back, you had the passion to move forward. And I wrote that down as like my therapy. So I appreciate it.
That's your moment of joy for the day, right, Heath?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. That makes me happy. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for spending an hour with us, people in person and people on Zoom all over the world. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.